How is it going, everyone? It's K-Lumity here, and today we are going to be talking about a first-person shooter on the Nintendo 64. We are talking about the original Quake. This port is also known as Quake 64 because it is slightly different than its original Quake release. This one has some of the maps missing, some of the levels missing, and it also has some other things edited on it. However, it's still Quake. And if you like Quake, you're probably going to enjoy the Nintendo 64 version of it, or at least enjoy trying out a different version of this game. And I think that this is actually a pretty good port of this game, honestly. It's kind of impressive that they got it to run this well on the Nintendo 64. It's not perfect, but it is pretty cool, and it is still really fun. Now, one thing I love about Quake is just the level design and the enemies that you fight and everything like that. You fight some just kind of bizarre stuff, and you fight a mixture of like medieval looking knights. You fight the main boss you're fighting is literally something from like H.P. Lovecraft. There's a whole lot of like weird religious references in it as well. And I just love the setting of Quake. It's a really cool setting, and you know the areas in this game, they do a good job of making every level feel different. While it's all kind of similar, they all still feel like their own thing. They all feel unique. They do a good job of level design, so nothing feels too closely designed to another level. Now, the only problem with the level design, I would say personally, is the platforming. I love going around, and I love trying to find my way through these levels, but I do not like the platforming, and I have never liked the platforming in Quake. I'm just not a fan of it, especially on the N64, because it's really hard to use the N64 controller and do platforming in a first-person shooter like this. Frankly, I'm not a fan of any platforming in any N64 first-person shooter. I'm just not a big fan of it. But that being said, the rest of the game, where it's actually just fighting enemies and going through and exploring these large missions and trying to find the keys that you need to escape the levels, all that stuff is great, and I love it. The combat is actually still really good. I didn't have many problems when it comes to the actual controls themselves, when it comes to like combat and stuff like that. It does take a bit to get used to, because you obviously have one thumbstick, which you use to move forward and also aim. And if you want to aim up or down, keep in mind, you don't have to technically always aim up or down. Like, the game will usually like compensate for you, so the bullets will just kind of go in the direction of the enemy most of the time. But every now and then you'll want to look up and down for like if you need to shoot a certain puzzle piece or something like that, or if you have an enemy waiting down on you, you know, like below, and you want to try to hit it before you jump down into a different area. You may want to move your head up and down, and to do that, you actually have to press the R button and move the analog stick down or up, and that will move your character's head. And it will also lock it there. And to make it so it basically pops back up where it's supposed to, you have to press the up button. It's really weird. It's not perfect. Like I said, it's not perfect. There's definitely some sacrifices made to make this game run on the N64. But I'm actually impressed with how they got it to run. And I'm actually impressed with really how good it does play once you get used to it. Because once you get used to the controls, once I got used to the controls, at least, I never had another problem with it. I was very happy with it, and I was able to learn it quick, and I was going crazy against some bad guys. Now, one thing you also want to learn to do in this version is you want to learn how to strafe, because you'll definitely need to use those C left and right buttons to strafe. So make sure that you're doing that, because you're going to need it in a lot of these areas, especially when you're getting traced by like these, you know, like troll-looking things. I don't know what they're called. Are they trolls, ogre? I don't know what they're called. But whatever they are, they jump at you and they try to attack you, and you're going to need to strafe whenever they're jumping at you, because they will tear you apart if you cannot do that. Just like a lot of other first-person shooters from this era, there are a lot of secrets to be found in this game. So look for secrets, look for walls that may seem a little bit off, look for buttons in certain places, and, you know, try to push them, try to shoot them, shoot the walls that look a little bit funny, and it may open a secret door. So there's a lot of secrets to find, and it does add to the replayability to this game, because it is really cool to find these secrets, and they help you out quite a bit. You can find some secrets that have just a lot of armor in there. You can find some that will give you health back, ammo, and they will really help you out. Some of them will give you quad damage, So definitely look out for those secret areas. When it comes to the enemies of Quake, I do think that the majority of them are really fun to fight. There's only one enemy I absolutely hate, and that's the slimes. They don't show up until the end of the game, like really, really towards the end of the game, really late in it. And they're just the worst. I don't know who designed those characters over at id Software. I don't know which one of you evil sons of guns did that, but man, you are evil. You are evil. Because those are the worst monsters to fight in this game, because not only are they jumping everywhere all chaotic like and everything, but when you shoot them, and they're usually in your face when you're shooting them, they explode and they do damage to you. They are the most annoying enemy in Quake. I hate them so much. I like almost all the other enemy designs, so the other ones are fun to fight. This one sucks. I hate this enemy. Whoever designed that, you were just feeling, you woke up and you were having a bad day, and you were just like, you know what, if I'm having a bad day, everyone who's playing Quake is going to have a bad day. That's what you decided. But overall, the majority of the enemies are fun to fight, and I like the designs, and each one feels very different from one another. They all have their own unique abilities, and the sound design for this game is also really good. You can usually tell when an enemy is close by because you'll start hearing some noises from them, and you'll start to be a little bit cautious depending on what that noise is, because you know they have their own unique sounds, and some of them are tougher than others, like I said. So if you start hearing some slimes around the corner, be prepared. Be prepared, because they will ruin your day. The only other complaint that I have is sometimes when you go through a portal, the game will just like drop you on an enemy's head, and you won't be able to, like, it will almost make you like stuck, and it'll be really hard to move. And usually it will be one of the worst types of enemies. It will be one of them that has like a chainsaw, and they'll just be chainsawing you from beneath, and there's really nothing you can do, and by the time you're able to escape, it's too late because you already lost so much health. So that's another thing that could be better, but still, even with its flaws, I still think that the positives of this game outweigh the negatives. This is a really fun game. It's super fast paced. The levels, like, they can take a while. You can fail them and you'll have to restart the level whenever you do fail them. There's no checkpoints or anything, so keep that in mind. You can't save during the levels. But that being said, the levels are still really fun to get through, and as you play them, the further you get in the level, the more you'll be familiar with it. So if you do happen to die late in the level, you'll probably have a very easy time of getting to the place where you were at again, because you can fly through them once you're familiar with the levels. So that's really cool, and it does feel rewarding. Even when you die in this game, it feels like, okay, well, at least I learned something. I'm going to be able to avoid that in the future. So I really think it's designed very well. Graphically, for an N64 game, I actually think it looks pretty good. It's not too bad looking. You can tell what everything is. The lighting is pretty good for the most part. There is there's a few areas that's a little bit too dark, but for the most part, it looks pretty good. The gameplay, once you get used to the controls, it's a lot of fun. And I think if you own an N64 already and you're a fan of first-person shooters, this is definitely one that you should pick up, especially if you like sci-fi and horror elements, because this game has a lot of that stuff mixed in, and it's really good. It really, really is a lot of fun, and I highly recommend it. I do like also that they were able to keep in the water levels. That was kind of cool. There's certain areas on the levels that will have water, and you'll have to go underneath them, and you'll have to be actually like underwater and fight some enemies underwater, and there'll be secrets also under there and stuff like that. And it doesn't control the best, obviously, because you're using an N64 controller, so it's a little bit weird when you're first getting used to it, but once you get used to it, it's not too bad. And I just think it's cool that they were still able to keep the underwater aspects of this game, so I gotta give them props for that. And also they kept in, whenever you use an electric weapon underwater, they kept it in where if you try to use an electric weapon, it will fry you underwater, which is awesome. It's really cool that they actually thought about that. You know, if you pick up an electric weapon, you jump into water, and you accidentally fire that sucker, oh, it's over. You got to restart that level. You're done. So I always like that they put that in there. But overall, this is a great game, and if you have an N64, you should definitely go pick up this game. You can usually pick it up for less than $20, so it's definitely affordable. And I highly recommend it. It's a lot of fun. thank you so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, hit the like button, subscribe button down below, and I will see you in the next video. You have a wonderful day. Bye-bye.